Hey, how's it going? This is Kevin from the liveinbrazil.org website, and today I am going to show you how to get a hosting service and install WordPress, which is the underlying structure to get your website up and running in these few minutes. By this time, you should have purchased a domain address, a web address, a URL, if you call it www. whatever your site is, whatever extension you chose. So that should be in your back pocket, and that email I told you to keep open or keep handy in the first video, you should have that open, but if not, I'll talk you through it here. So like I said in the first video, a domain is your address, like your house address, street address, a way for people to find you, whereas hosting is the actual place where everything is contained. If you remember the first video, I showed you that at GoDaddy, they tried to sell you email services, they tried to sell you hosting services, and I said, don't worry about that, just get a domain name from them, because you can't get the same ones from BlueHost, and we can do the hosting at BlueHost. Now here's why. Now I'll show you. At BlueHost, they are specifically focused on WordPress, amongst other things, and that's awesome, because it means that you can install this WordPress structure, and then right after your WordPress template, really easy, in one click, as it says, one-click installation. That is awesome, and that's because they've made it to fit with, like, to work together in collaboration with WordPress. I've tried other hosting services where they don't offer one-click installation of WordPress, and I've spent literally all day of a frustrating day trying to get WordPress installed. It took me forever, and it was really irritating. I had to like consult and copy all sorts of code and find code on the internet, and I had to create databases, all this weird stuff I'd never tried before. So it wasn't too cool. So I'd recommend staying away from those. The reason I choose BlueHost for myself is, one, because their pricing. $3.95 a month is insanely cheap, and it's not sure the sale is still on by the time you watch this video, but if it is, it's insanely cheap. You get anytime money-back guarantee, unlimited space and bandwidth, as much space as you want to use, and as many people who want to visit as you want. Unlimited email accounts. And like, remember in GoDaddy, they want, what was it, $3 or $5 a month for email accounts. Here you get it with the hosting itself for $4 a month. You get a free domain name, which is just a simple like .org, .biz name, which doesn't apply. As in the first video, we had the .com, .br, and some other options you don't get with the free domain name. They'll want to charge you for other things. But nonetheless, you get some Google credit and stuff, and that's pretty awesome. So when you're ready to take the dive, per se, just click on sign up. If you need a domain, you put it here. If you're already chosen for the first video, you're good to go, and just put it in here. If you remember the domain I chose, it was easiestlanguage.org, and that's for a website I'm going to build to help people speak Portuguese and Spanish and English and so forth. I want to help people the best as possible in learning a foreign language. So you click next as you have it. Easiest thing. Sorry, it's not going to let me continue. I'm silly. It's not going to let me continue because I already have it set up in the account itself, and I'm going to show you how to do that later. But nonetheless, you have a domain name, you click next, and they're going to ask you a couple of questions, but it's pretty stinking simple. They're just going to ask you, how long do you want the account for? How many months? And you choose, default 36 months, I believe. Choose 36 months. That's cool. And then they have a couple other options. The one main option below that 36-month option, if you're on that page now, is the option to have a backup pro system, where it creates a backup of your system for, I think it was like $15 a year or something. Choose that. You definitely want that, because if anything happens to your account or whatever, you want to be able to roll back to previous backup of your site if anything crashes. Otherwise, you'll lose everything you worked for. So as soon as you choose that, then you just choose purchase, checkout, go check out, and they'll send you an email. Get that email, and which will have your username and password. And if you want to pause it and do that now, you can. But get that email, click on the link, and it'll bring you to the main page of BlueHost, and you see the control panel login. So you click on the login, and I'm already logged in, so it'll just bring you right in. But if not, it'll ask you for a username and password. They'll send you that username and password in an email. And here I'm going to show you how to associate the domain you purchased from GoDaddy with this actual website. Now, the reason we chose, again, GoDaddy was because they offered all sorts of domains. They didn't just offer 3-4 different kinds. They offered ones for Brazil, for Argentina, from Australia, wherever you wanted, Canada. And we chose a Brazilian one in that first video. So I'm going to get the two linked together. You have to have your domain linked to your main hosting account so the two are communicating. In order to do that, go back to the email you got from GoDaddy when you purchased the domain. And in that email, I'll have a link to, to the actual site itself. Back to getting your domain set up. I'll show you what that looks like. This is what the email should look like. And you see, this is the domain I purchased. And then right to the right of it, it has managed domain. This should have been the second email you received from GoDaddy, if I remember right. Click the manage domain button there, and then you should be pop up onto this site, this page. If you have to enter any username and password, you got that in your last email from GoDaddy, and you chose the password. If you forgot your password, you can retrieve it, no problem. But once you're on this once you're on this page, then you want to scroll to the bottom here, where it says name servers. And these are what point GoDaddy into the direction of your hosting account to connect the two. It's like, telling the post office that you moved into a house so they can send mail to the correct address. Kind of think of it like that. So you want to click on this name servers part, set name servers, or you just click here on the button where it says set name servers. Either or is fine. So you click on set name servers, and a window should pop up. Now the window pops up, and by default, I believe this is the one that they have, they have checked off, and that's because they want to sell you a hosting account through GoDaddy. But like I said, BlueHost is a much better deal, and you get unlimited free email and one-click integration with WordPress. So I'd go with them like I'm telling you to. But just click the bottom button here, and you see it says name server 1 and name server 2. And name server 1, it's not going to say this, or in name server 2, it won't say this. These are what I actually filled out here to get it connected to the BlueHost account. So write this here. If you bought the BlueHost hosting account, then you write ns1.bluehost.com. Doesn't matter if it's lowercase or uppercase, it'll automatically correct it. And then it's just almost the exact same again, ns2.bluehost.com. And this points it over to your hosting account. Then after you're finished with that, you push OK. Now a window will pop up that says it'll probably take about 2 hours before the changes take effect. I'm not going to push OK because I don't want to screw up what I already did, because otherwise it'll put me back into a waiting period again, and I won't be able to access my WordPress installation yet. So it'll just be a little bit of a waiting period. I'll show you how to do that now. So after you finish with that, push OK. And then you can just exit this, because it'll say savings changed, just wait, blah, blah, blah. So then you're done here. Then you want to go back to your BlueHost control panel. Now this BlueHost account I purchased was for liveinbrazil.org. It's the primary account, a primary domain for this account, but you can add subdomains. In your case, the site you chose in the first video will be your primary domain. I'm going to tell you how to set that up now. So on the top of the control panel on BlueHost you're already at, you have this tab called Domain Manager. You click on Domain Manager, and it'll bring you into another page. All right, and here you'll see to the left-hand side all sorts of options. And you can see that I have all sorts of add-ons and primaries. This is the primary that I signed with the account, as I told you, and it's by default always the top one. And then I can add on different ones that are different sites using the same hosting service. So what I'll show you is actually how to add an add-on, but it's the same procedure for adding your primary one. That just means that I'll show you how to do it. Just click here, assign a domain to your cPanel account. Great. And then you type in the address you got from GoDaddy, the one you purchased, without the www dot at the beginning, just the name .com.br, whatever it was. Then after that, it'll verify that you own it. Then after that, it should have the option of primary here instead of add-on. It only has add-on here because I already have a primary domain on this account. So you choose the primary. And after you're finished, it'll come up with a directory. and just leave everything default like it comes up with and don't worry about it. And then push add domain. As soon as you're done with that, it'll take a couple minutes to register and get everything set up. So be a little bit patient. Feel free to pause the video if you need until we go to the next step. Right. So I go back to the control panel after I'm finished with that. And on the left-hand side, you should be able to see the main domain set up there and everything good to go, if I remember right. And then your next step here is to actually get the WordPress part installed onto your website. So you notice all these tons of icons. Don't worry about them right now. I know it's overwhelming. The ones you're going to need basically are like email accounts for later, and then WordPress, and then obviously site backup and restore. But right now we're just going to focus on this one. So click on WordPress. I'll come into that any minute now. You have to be a little bit patient here. After you clicked on WordPress, now you're going to want to do what's called a WordPress install. It should be empty here and it should say something like no WordPress not installed, or tell you do you want to ask if you want to install, and just push yes, or if not, just click here where it says install. WordPress is the underlying structure, a really easy, user-friendly, awesome structure, which your template or your theme you purchased from the last video will go on top of. So basically, it's going to ask you where do you want to install the version of WordPress, and I'm going to choose easiestlanguage.org. And by default, it'll already set up to the main directory and stuff. Just leave that be unless you know what you're doing. Just leave it default. And then you're just going to unclick these unless you really need them, because they're just kind of trying to sell you things. They get commission for it. So advanced options, don't click on that unless you really know what you're doing. I'll just leave it alone. You read the terms and conditions, and then you just click on complete. Next page will come up, and it'll tell you that it's installing WordPress 3.4.1 or 3.4.2 or whichever version is the newest at the time of you watching this language. So like I said, it's installing an underlying structure, very easy structure to put onto your site. And this structure basically will allow you to install everything else by one click. It's really simple. So after it's done installing, it has your main site address and then has a login URL. This login URL is what you're going to use to install the theme you purchased from the last video in quite easy way. So what you want to do is you want to copy all of this, and right click and copy or whatever, and then you're going to want to save it into a document. I'm going to save it into a document here, and then what I'll do is I'll stop the video here while you're taking care of that, because you probably still have a little time before the GoDaddy domain name and the BlueHost hosting account are connected. The two are communicating with each other. It says usually to wait about 2 hours. So it'd be no use for me showing you how to install your template right now, but I will do that in the next video. I'll show you exactly how to install your template, and I'll show you how to get the basics up and running. Copy this information. We're going to use it right away in the next video. We're going to go straight to this control panel again with BlueHost, and get everything up and running. So we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then.